Okay, after a 2-year process, the big day is finally here. New Zealand face India in the World Test Championship final at the Ageas Bowl in Southampton, starting tomorrow. An absolute mouth-watering prospect. And we're really thrilled to say joining us to give his thoughts on what could be a cracking game is Mr. Simon Doull. Simon, you're looking good.
Cheers, Darren. Thank you very much. Nice to be here. And how's this for a backdrop, eh? We're expecting rain. It's been a little bit last night, but it's not all bad now.
You'd want to bowl under that sky, wouldn't you?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And having a look at the surface the last couple of days when it's been uncovered, a little bit of grass on it. The ones to the side of the wicket block where the guys have been training and bowling look like they've got some good pace and bounce. So, I think it should be a fairly good surface.
So New Zealand coming into this on a bit of a crest of a wave, having not had much cricket at all for a while. 2 very, very interesting test matches against England and definitely coming out on top.
Yeah, they played really well. I think the build-up to the first test at Lord's, they had a good period of time of getting used to that Duke's ball. And I know some of the guys that were at the IPL had the Duke's ball sent to them in India, and they've been practicing with that as well. They had a really good build-up down here in Southampton and then went to Lord's ready to fire, ready to go. So, could have won barring that day of rain or certain things that happened at Lord's, and then were just dominant after changing 6 players at Edgbaston, absolutely dominated the England side. And I know there'll be people say, oh, there was no Stokes and no Butler and no Wokes and this sort of thing, but you think of the changes New Zealand made for that second test match and still dominated. It means we've got a really strong squad. And personally, I think it's the best that New Zealand cricket have ever been as far as strength and depth is concerned.
It's a really good point, and I think that's going to bring some selection issues for this match. How do you see things going? Do you think Patel will get a go as a spinner?
Look, I think the weather will dictate a little bit as to what happens. If we get started on time, toss happens tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. If it gets underway on time, I think Ajaz Patel will play. If we get the rain that is expected to come in tonight, tomorrow, we lose a day and a half, maybe don't get going till Saturday afternoon, Sunday, that might change New Zealand's plans a little bit, and it might bring Colin de Grandhomme back into the mix. I think at the moment they are looking probably, the later the game starts, the more it brings de Grandhomme back into the mix. And that's about the only selection dilemma, I believe. I'm pretty sure that Will Young, Matt Henry, and Tom Blunder will miss out, and then it's that Ajaz Patel, Colin de Grandhomme situation. It means the batting doesn't look quite as strong, but I think it puts a reliance on that top 6 to BJ Watling at 6. It means Kyle Jamieson bats at 7 and Tim South. You just ask a little bit of those guys to get some runs for you.
You mentioned the weather there. There is a reserved day for this game as well, isn't there? So, we could be going into next week. So that's one good thing, because, the weather forecast doesn't look great after 2 weeks of hot sunshine. It's turned England style, isn't it?
Yeah, we've had such a cracking 2.5 weeks, haven't we? And the shame of it is that it looks like the first day and a half and the last couple of days are going to be a little bit weather affected. The weekend doesn't look as bad now, particularly Saturday and leading into Sunday. So the extra day is great. I think that the idea around having that extra day is fantastic, and it means that no matter how many overs are required, if any, on that extra day, they can be used, even if it's just an hour that was needed, or 5 overs. That last day can be used, or that spare day. So that's a great initiative, I think, from the ICC. The issue now is, will we get enough cricket before that last day to make sure that sort of has an effect on the game?
Is there any breeze down there?
A little bit. It was sort of blowing my golf ball around a couple of days ago, just a smidge. It sort of took it from a dead straight shot to maybe a little 5-yard fade, Darren.
Simon Doull hitting straight balls. That's a new one.
That's it.
It's a fade rather than a slice, is it?
Yeah, there's no slicing involved.
That's one of the great things about the Ageas Bowl, is that you've got a golf course as part of the complex, so never a dull moment.
No, it was great. It's closed now, unfortunately, due to the biosecure bubble that we're all in now. We were allowed to play up to 2 days prior to the start of the game. So it was closed as of yesterday, and it'll be closed for the remainder of the 6-7 days.
Oh, you'll have to do some work.
Yeah, exactly.
So this has really been clashed. I think this is a fitting final between the best 2 teams of the last couple of years. And it's a real interesting clash of styles and personalities. The obvious one being Coley versus Williamson. Very, very different approaches and styles, and even, not just the personalities, but the way they play. How do you see that panning out?
Yeah, I think I look at that and I say, you've got on one side, you've got a leader, a guy who'll be first out of the trenches, who says, I'm going in for the fight, follow me, that type of bloke that's confrontational, always up for the fight. And then the other side, you've got a captain. And neither one is exactly right nor wrong. I think that every team, whether it be a football team, a rugby team, a cricket team, a netball team, they've all got different types of people in charge, whether they be leaders, genuine sort of hard-nosed people, or whether they be captains who are, strategically very smart and very cool and calm and calculated. And I think that's what you've got. Virat Kohli wears his heart on his sleeve. I think the situation of the game without ever looking at the scoreboard when you're watching Kohli. Whereas with Kane, you wouldn't know whether he was on 180 or 8 when you look at his face, so you wouldn't know whether New Zealand were in trouble or not. And that's the beauty of what you've got here. It's cool, calm, calculated, up against aggressive. I'll show you that we're not meek and mild, and if you want to follow me, we'll be all right, sort of thing. So that's kind of how I see that playing out. When you look at, and I've done a little bit of looking, because all the stats kind of go out the window. The home and away stats go out the window. So what I've been looking at, as far as batting stats are concerned in particular, have been the stats of these players in England. So in all English conditions, only 2 of the Indians average over 30 with the bat in English conditions. Virat averages 36, and I think Ajinkya Rahane is the only other one that's over 30, and he's only just over it. Everyone else is under 30. We've got 3 New Zealand players over 40 average in England. So you throw all the sort of New Zealand stats, the Indian stats away, and you look at only in England against the Duke ball, and the stats for the batting kind of weigh up a little bit better from a New Zealand point of view than they do from an Indian point of view. Having said that, the bowlers kind of probably even themselves out a little bit. I think India's seam attack now is exceptional. They've got 2 very good spinners, if that comes into play. So it's a mouth-watering contest. It's a David versus Goliath. It's 5 million against 1 billion and a bit. It's magnificent.
Simon, the second test against England obviously is a very different team that took to the field for New Zealand than the first test. Does that present some selection headaches? Welcome headaches possibly, but some tough calls?
Yeah, we sort of had a little chat about that. The thing for me is they're great headaches. When I look at what Gary Stead and prior to him, Mike Hess and Brendan McCullum, and now Stead and Williamson, what they've developed here in this New Zealand setup is, we've seen it, 16, 17, 18 guys more than capable of taking any spot. There's a direct replacement for every player in that side. If Tim Southee's injured or out, Matt Henry comes in. There's Tom Blundell in for Latham. There's Will Young in for Williamson or Taylor, or maybe even Latham at the top. There's so much like-for-like replacement in this New Zealand setup now in squad, and that's a huge bonus from New Zealand's point of view, I think. The only selections which we sort of mentioned was Ajaz Patel or Colin de Grandhomme. The other 3, Henry, Young, and Blundell, will miss out, I think. But it's harsh. Matt Henry, up until Edgbaston, hadn't had a great Test match record, but he hadn't had an even run at it either. He'd never played more than 2 tests in a row, and he was brilliant at Edgbaston. I was a big sort of proponent of talking the Skybox into giving him the man of the match. I think he fully deserved it, the wickets he took, and he was superb. So there's so much replacement value on offer from a New Zealand point of view, but the one and only selection issue, I think, will be around the weather and whether they play that Colin de Grandhomme role, or whether they play at Ajaz Patel and look for a spinner.
And is it BJ Watling's final bow?
Yeah, it is. And, it's hard, I think, to put the right justice on what BJ Watling has done and what he's been to New Zealand cricket in the last, 9-10 years. He's just been exceptional. The guy he's team first through and through. He is absolute team first. One of the hardest trainers I think you come across. He is absolutely loved by one and all in that dressing room, and his contribution to New Zealand cricket has been enormous. He's our best ever wicketkeeper batsman, in my opinion. And my good mate Ian Smith was a terrific player and a terrific, probably one of our best wicketkeepers ever. But I think wicketkeeper batsman BJ is comfortably the best that New Zealand's ever had, and he'll be missed. But the great thing about what we just talked about with the succession planning, Tom Blundell kind of just comes straight into the mix, and I hope from a New Zealand point of view and from a team point of view, they can give BJ a great send-off.
You mentioned about this strength in depth that New Zealand have currently got, and I think I'd go with you as having followed New Zealand cricket for as long as I can remember. This squad is unreal, but I'm curious as to understand how this has come about. Given now, you mentioned the population sizes: New Zealand less than 5 million, 1.4 billion in India, 56 million in England. Given also, throw into the mix that cricket isn't even the top sport in New Zealand. It's miles behind rugby and the various derivatives of rugby. How has New Zealand cricket managed to be in such a good position?
I think that one of the benefits from a male and female point of view is that it really is the leading summer sport. And outside of it, there's not a lot of interference in that summertime. With winter, you've got your rugby league, your basketball. There's so many other sports going on in wintertime that cricket kind of owns summer to an extent. Sevens rugby maybe, but outside of that, there is, cricket's the option for boys and girls, and I think that's helped strength definitely. The one thing, and I've talked about this a little bit in commentary as well, that the change of situation with our pitches decided sort of around the country that we needed to play on better pitches. We needed to play on good batting surfaces that had pace and had bounce. So if you were prepared to dig in and bat well, you could get hundreds, 200s, 300s. Now, batsmen now, I think, are just, they're in a great position to lead from domestic. And to me, that's, that's part and parcel of the reason that we are producing.
Just looking over your shoulder at that view, comparing that maybe to conditions that you might see in New Zealand, is that representative of any particular part of New Zealand, do you think?
Maybe a little bit of Hagley Oval without the grass embankments. Hagley Oval, Seddon Park, two of the better cricket grounds in New Zealand, along with probably Mount Maunganui. So we don't tend to have grandstands all the way around our grounds. We tend to have a lot of nice grass embankments with one, maybe two grandstands or pavilion areas. So maybe those two would be slightly similar.
I'm just wondering with the conditions, and it's going to be humid. I mean, whether we get rain or not, but given the temperatures, it's going to be a humid few days. So there's a lot of people who've been saying that this weather favours the New Zealanders, but I'm wondering if humidity more suits India.
Look, the bowling attacks are very good. I mean, the addition of Kyle Jamieson to this New Zealand attack has given it a different dimension with Wagner and Southee and Bolt. Just that little bit of bounce, a very good, genuine pace, swings the ball as well. But the Indian bowling attack, when you look at their seam options, I think is just as good. Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami is outstanding. I'd like to see them play Mohammad Siraj. I think he's a really talented bowler. Whether they go for him or Ishant Sharma and the two spinners, it's up for debate. But they've got such a good bowling attack, and I think they kind of even each other out. It'll come down to the batting side of things for mine, because both bowling attacks look exceptional as far as I'm concerned. So the batsman and the batting unit that stands up and does the job, I think will be, we'll see their team sort of be in a stronger position.
And Devon Conway, you talk about the batsman, incredible performance against England.
Yeah, what a start to a Test match career. Who could have dreamt of anything better than a double hundred at Lords? We know he's a special talent. We've seen that in New Zealand at domestic level for 3.5 years now. New Zealand had him in their contract list before he was even available. They had him in the squads training before he was even available to play for New Zealand. They knew they had a special talent on hand, and he went out and just looked like he belonged at Lords, and even that 80 at Edgbaston in the second Test match was just all class.
And again, someone that's played a lot of cricket here in England. He was down in Somerset and playing even club cricket down there in Devon, I think, for a long time. So this could be his moment.
Yeah, it could be. And, a lot of these guys have been playing. Tom Latham's played some county cricket here. I know Kane's been at Yorkshire a bit. Ross Taylor's been over here at different times. So a lot of these guys have played in and around the domestic scene in England. So they're fairly used to the Duke's ball and the conditions that we'll see here in Hampshire.
Yeah, Essex has been a happy hunting ground for a lot of Kiwis that have come up. Tim Southey, Scott Styrus, to name a couple, and have enjoyed their time at Essex.
Yeah, they have. I think Neil Wagner spent some time over here playing. I know Matt Henry's been at Kent, one or two other places as well. So yeah, it's been nice. And I think part of that, what we were talking about earlier with New Zealand being probably recognised as a better side now than they have been, those opportunities have come for even that next tier of player. I mean, Will Young was at Durham at the start of this season, reeled off a couple of hundreds for them. So that those opportunities are coming a little bit more regularly now for some of these New Zealand players.
You've been someone that's been travelling the world these last 12 months through lockdown and covering cricket everywhere. And it's great to see you on English shores. Last time we spoke to you, you were in Sri Lanka. How are you coping with this bio-secure travelling and the bubbles and all the rest of it?
Look, it's tough. I won't deny it. It is tough. It's taken its toll on a few things in and around my life, and those, those are things that you kind of just have to deal with, I suppose. It's not an easy life, being locked up in your hotel room time and time again. But you look at it and you think those hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, wherever they may be around the world, millions of people who have lost jobs, lost lives, lost family, lost friends. That you put it into perspective, and I think that's kind of how you have to look at it. I'm still very privileged to be able to be working, to be doing my job, and you make some sacrifices to do that. As I say, things at times have been very difficult, and I'm sure that the players and the umpires and the television crew and so many people find it the same way. We just we just get about and do our job and try and bring those who love the game still at home just a little bit of enjoyment. As long as we can continue to do that, then I think we'll be okay. And if anyone's sort of out there that is struggling with it, we try and talk and have mates to talk to or anyone to talk to that we can, just to make sure that we're all okay.
Well, let's hope the weather plays its part and we all get to enjoy it for the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that I think would be a great conference.
And I heard NASA's ready to supply drinks for anyone that's struggling and make them feel welcome and safe.
Yeah, he's always like that. He brings a special card for the tokens. So he's good like that, Nas.
We had a bit of fun with him on here a few weeks ago. So it's going to be good. You're going to have a massive TV audience for this. I can't imagine the viewing figures. Probably best not to think about that, I guess. But let's hope.
It's just. I hope so. I mean, there'll be millions around the world and billions in India.
Well, I've seen already the Indian fans are incredibly excited about this and taking it really, really seriously. It's a big moment for them, almost like a World Cup final. But actually, I better not go there with you on that. And is that why you moved it away from Lords?
I thought we were going to get the whole interview. I thought we were going to get this whole call without mentioning that. But
no.
There's no need, was there, Simon? No need.
I need it all. I thought we were mates, Darren. I thought we were mates, and then we go down this road right at the end.
So where are you? So once this is done, where's your next travels? Are you going home for a bit, or what's going on?
I'm going to stay on and do a bit of blast and things for Sky. So I'll be here for most of the summer, which I'm looking forward to.
So we might get a chance to have that beer then.
Absolutely. Hopefully we will.
Yeah. Well, I will be in the chair. So if we can get something sorted out at an appropriate venue, I will more than happily do the NASA maneuver and put my card there. And
brilliant. I look forward to it.
I might even buy some crisps. How about that?
That's it. Nice.
All right, Simon, brilliant chatting. Thanks very much for giving us your time and enjoy the game. I'm sure it's going to be a cracker. And we look forward to catching up to you soon.
Cheers, guys. Take care.